Our agenda for today's extra lecture is operation of full bridge inverter with RL load. Second is Fourier analysis of square wave full bridge inverter. Third is performance parameters of inverter. Fourth is Cauchy square wave or QSW inverter involving output waveform and Fourier analysis. And fifth is numericals. Okay, over to agenda number 1. So students, if you remember in the last lecture, we had analyzed a full bridge inverter with R load, and we had concluded with these waveforms wherein we told that if the load is resistive in nature, then if the load voltage waveform has a square wave nature having the peak values plus V and minus V volts, that is 2 volts peak to peak, then the load current also has a square wave nature. And this is not something new, because we have seen that even in converters also, with resistive load, the load current has the same mathematical nature as that of load voltage. And we know that because inductor affects current, it affects the nature of the current. So when the load changes from purely resistive to resistive inductive nature, the load voltage will always remain the same. In the sense, the nature of load voltage will not get affected, but the nature of load current gets affected. So it is worth making a point here that inductor changes the nature of load current and not load voltage. In converters, IL was sinusoidal only for R load, but IL became charging and discharging for RL load. So in case of converters, in case of converters, VL was having a nature like this. Zero alpha pi pi plus alpha 2 pi, and the nature of IL was something like this. It is non-sinusoidal. So this is what we meant by telling charging and discharging. Okay, so we can extend our understanding here that in full bridge inverter, the VL is a square wave going between minus V and plus V volts. IL is also a square wave going between plus V by R to minus V by R. So I can add for R load. But in full bridge inverter, for RL load, VL will still be square wave, but IL will show charging and discharging nature. Having written this theory, we can directly draw the circuit diagram and analysis. So it's a full bridge inverter. The circuit diagram has a small change in the sense that in parallel with every power BJT, we have to connect a diode. So 4 power BJTs, 4 diodes. Okay. So the first BJT Q1, the second BJT Q2, third BJT Q3, fourth BJT Q4. Input is V, and students, the change comes here. R L. Output node A, output node B. Okay. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, R and L. And student, please understand that output voltage has a convention plus minus VL. Okay. That means what? If node A gets connected to positive plate of battery and B to the negative, then VL is positive. On the other hand, if the node A gets connected to negative plate and node B gets connected to positive plate, it is negative. Now students, here the only change in the analysis of the circuit is that the inductor will reverse its polarity whenever the current tries to change the direction through it. So students, what we will do, first we'll consider a case in the positive half cycle 0 to T by 2 where Q1 and Q2 are fired. Okay. So now case 1. Case 1. This is a difficult part, so just listen carefully. Case 1 is when Q1, Q2 are conducting. Okay. So when Q1, Q2 are conducting, what happens? A is connected to plus V and the node B is connected to minus V. So we have to draw the equivalent circuit, students. That means what? We have to replace Q1 and Q2 with a short circuit. Okay, are conducting. That means what? They're acting as a short circuit. So equivalent circuit is like this. And obviously students understand that Q3 and Q4 are off. That means open circuit. So we have to replace Q1 and Q2 by short circuit and Q3, Q4 by open circuit. So equivalent circuit is like this. Supply plus minus V, the transistor Q1, then we have node A, here we have load, and then now here we have node B, and here we have the transistor Q2. Okay, so this is Q1 as short circuit, Q2 as short circuit. See now students, how the current flows. It flows like this. It flows like this. Okay, this is R and this is L. Okay, so students, the current is flowing in the circuit like this. So please note students that the direction of current when Q1 and Q2 are conducting is like this. So when does this happen? This happens in the interval time t greater than or equal to 0 less than equal to t by 2. Okay, so let us put down the values of the load voltages. See now, as I told you, A gets connected to positive plate, B gets connected to negative plate. So in this condition, we can write down that VL of T is equal to plus V. What about IL of T? Now see, inductor is getting connected to positive plate. That is why it will have charging. So we can just write down there is charging. It is having a charging nature. So it will be like this. It will be something like this, depending upon the value of R. Now case number 2. Case number 2 is the interval T is greater than T by 2 less than equal to T. So what will happen students, at T equal to T by 2, Q1 and Q2 will become off. Okay, yeah. So what happens? See, at T equal to T by 2, the drives to Q1, Q2 are removed. Okay, so when you remove the base current to Q1 and Q2, Q1 and Q2 will become off. Okay, so at T equal to T by 2, the drives to Q1 and Q2 are removed, because of which Q1 and Q2 become off. Off means open circuit, right? Now students, one thing which I did not draw has to be drawn here. That is the diodes. See carefully. So there is one diode which is connected across Q1. There is another diode which is connected across Q2. The third diode which is connected across Q3, and fourth diode which is connected across Q4. So Q1 D1, Q2 D2, Q3 D3, Q4 D4. Now the things become complicated. So at T equal to T by 2, Q1 and Q2 become off. Now also at T equal to T by 2, Q3 and Q4 are given drives. Okay. Now the problem is this, that Q3, Q4 are given a base drive, but now inductor is offering the voltage L di by dt. Okay. So I will write down at T equal to T by 2, L generates the voltage L di by dt, as shown. Okay. Yeah. So I will put it here. I will just erase this, make a smaller L, and I will show how it is. Okay. So see now students how it is creating a polarity here, plus and minus. Okay. See carefully this voltage. So students, what happens is this plus goes here. So this and this goes here. So students, understand what happened. I am very sorry here. It is actually Q2 and it is D2. This is okay. So this is Q3, D3, Q2 and D2. So students, when inductor imposes a polarity L di by dt in this way, this plus goes here, minus goes here. So what happens is that this plus gets applied here. Now students, you are in third year. This is an NPN transistor. Okay. Similarly, this is also an NPN transistor. So this is N, base is P and N. So see what is happening here. There is a problem that Q3 and Q4, although they are given base drives, still they remain reverse biased. Okay, so what happens is these guys become forward biased. So D3 is forward biased, D4 is also forward biased. Okay, the conclusion is that although Q3 and Q4 are fired due to L di by dt, they cannot conduct D3, D4 get forward biased and they conduct. Okay. So students, now the circuit becomes like this. See carefully how the circuit becomes like. Plus minus V. See here Q1 is turned off, Q2 is turned off, and because of L di by dt, Q3, Q4 cannot conduct. So what is the situation? The situation is something like this. Okay. So the base drive is removed. So Q1 is off. Here what happens is this. There is this diode D4, which is forward bias. Okay. Here, okay, I am having R. Here I am having L, and here I am having L di by dt. Here also, if we see carefully, there is the diode here D3. There is a diode D3. Here Q3 is fired, but it is remaining reverse bias because of polarity. Okay, so it's like this. And here we are having the transistor Q2, which is remaining open circuit because base drive is not given to it. Okay, so I'm very sorry, not like this. This is my transistor Q2. Okay, so Q3 is fired, but it is reverse bias. Q2 is not having a base drive. Q1 is not having a base drive. And again, because of the polarity of inductor, Q4 is also not able to conduct. So see now how the current is flowing. Okay, so see plus minus and see the current flow now. Okay, so inductor was conducting like this. So current now flows like this, students. This is very important. It goes like this. Okay. Okay, it goes like this and like this. Okay, so we can see here that inductor is pouring energy into the source. This is called as feedback. That is why D1, D2, D3 and D4 are called as feedback diodes. If you want me to write properly, so it's like this. Okay, the current, it starts like this, flows through D3, goes like this, goes like this, and again we can see here it is leaving like this, leaving like this, leaving like this, leaving like this. Okay, so the current flow is like this. Okay, so we can make a comment here. Now you see here inductor is discharging its energy into the source. It is important to write this. L is now discharging through D3, D4 into the source V. Hence, they are known as feedback diodes. Okay, not freewheeling. Why not freewheeling? Freewheeling diodes only will freewheel the energy, but they will disconnect the load from the source. So here the inductor is forward biasing the diodes D3 and D4, but it is actually pouring energy into the source. So please understand one thing, that this is diode D4, this is diode D3. That is why they are known as feedback diodes. Okay, so the fact is that Q3 and Q4 are receiving the drives, but because of the inductor they are not able to conduct. So now inductor is discharging. So after some time inductor will be completely discharged, and at that instant Q3 and Q4 will start conducting. Okay, so I can say here that L will discharge in some time, say T2, beyond T equal to T by 2. Students, this operation with RL load is not easy. So L will discharge in some time T2 beyond T equal to T by 2. Okay. What will happen after that? Once L is discharged, Q3, Q4 will start conducting. Okay. So the equivalent circuit in this case will be like this. Plus minus V. Q1 is not fired. Now this is Q4. Okay. The diode D1 is open. Diode D2 is also open. This is Q1. This is D1. This is D4. This is Q4. Here is my R, L. I am not showing LDI by dt because it is completely discharged. This is my diode D3. This is my transistor Q3, which is conducting. This is my diode D2, and this is my transistor Q2. Okay, let me write everything now. Okay, D3, Q3, Q2, D2. What is the current flow now? Very simple. Now this is my terminal A, this is my terminal B. B is getting connected here. So now current continues to flow like this. Okay, so current is now flowing like this. See students, now current is flowing from B to A. When current flows from A to B, it is positive. When it flows from B to A, it is negative. Okay, what is the value of load voltage? Load voltage is equal to minus V. Why? Because B is connected to positive plate through Q3 and A is connected to negative plate through Q4. Okay, so it is negative. Okay, so now we come to the end of the analysis. Here this continues from T2 to T. Now at T equal to T, again Q1, Q2 are fired. Now how was the current flowing? See, how was the current flowing? The current was flowing like this. Please see the nature of the current. It is flowing like this. Okay, it is flowing like this. So what will happen at t equal to t? The inductor will offer a polarity. How will that polarity be? The polarity will be like this. Students, see carefully. Okay. The polarity will be plus and minus. Okay. So now same thing will happen. Let us draw the circuit again. Plus minus V. The transistor Q1, it is fired now. See how the polarity is. L di by dt is like this. R, L, and what are the constituents now? See, Q3 drive is removed. So Q3 is open circuit. Similarly, we see here diagonally opposite here. Q4 is also open circuit. Why? Because the drive has been removed. At t equal to t by 2, Q1, Q1, Q2 are fired. Q3, Q4 drives are removed. That means they are off. Okay. So again plus minus. So N P N. So the emitter is receiving a positive. So it is reverse bias. So Q1 cannot conduct now. Okay. So Q1 cannot conduct. Now see what is the status. A little bit will displace it. Because I want to draw the diode here. This is my D1 like this. The polarity L di by dt. Here L. Okay. Now the diode D2 and here my transistor Q2. D1, D2. So see students what is going to happen. Plus minus C. So plus goes here, minus goes here. So D1 and D2 will become forward biased. So I can again write a statement. So now the current will flow like this. I can make a statement here. Q1 and Q2 cannot conduct due to L di by dt. Second point, L di by dt forward bias is the D1 D2 pair, because of which they will start conducting. Okay, so now students, what we can do, we can simply remove this guy from here. Q1 is not there. Okay, this is also not there. Okay, this is also not there. Q2 is gone. This is also not there. Okay, so now terminal A, terminal B. See the current flow now. So current flow is like this, like this, like this, like this, and then like this, like this, like this, and like this. Students, current is flowing into the source V. That is why it is again feedback action. That is why again the diodes D1 and D2 are performing the function of feedback. Okay. So now current is negative, but it is discharging. So I can write a comment here that current is negative. Why? Because the current is flowing from B to A and it is discharging. So again, I can write down that IL is negative and it is discharging. Okay. When L becomes discharged, Q1 and Q2 start conducting over. So this was our circuit analysis. Now directly we are going to draw only the load voltage and the load current waveforms. Okay. See now how it is. T, T, load voltage, load current. Okay, let us mark all the important intervals. 0, T by 2, T, 3T by 2. Okay, so let us put it like this: T by 2, T, and 3T by 2. Let us project terminals here. So we have to mark two important instants here. One is T1 and another is T2. T1 and T2. Okay, so let me take this down a bit. Load current plus V minus V. The load voltage will not have any change. It will always go like this. From 0 to T by 2, it will be plus V. At T by 2, it will change to minus V. Till T, it will be minus V. Again come here like this. Okay. So load voltage waveform will not change at all, but the change comes in the load current waveform. Please see very carefully because this is difficult. So I will draw a vertical marker at T1. Similarly, I will draw a vertical marker at T2. Similarly, it will be like this. It will be T plus T1. So like this. Yeah. Now, from 0 to T1, who conducts? From 0 to T1, D1, D2 will conduct. Okay, so let us write down the intervals. From 0 to T1, D1, D2 will conduct. From T1 to T by 2, the transistor pair will conduct. From T by 2 to T2, the diodes D3, D4 will conduct. And from T2 to T, Q3, Q4 will conduct. Students, we need to write down here that this is feedback operation. Whenever two diodes are conducting, it is feedback operation. So D3, D4 also feedback operation because they are feeding the energy back to the source. Q1 and Q2, this is inverter operation. Again, inverter operation. Very simple now. So now we will mark two current levels. Okay, see now how it is. So at this point, the inductor is getting discharged. Okay, so the instant at which the inductor is getting it discharged, that will be the zero current point. Okay, so see now how it is. So okay, let us mark the intervals now. This interval, this interval, this interval, and this interval. Okay, so D1, D2, Q1, Q2, D3, D4, and Q3, Q4. Okay. Yeah, this was the operation of full bridge inverter with RL load. Okay, so our next point is this. We have covered this thing. Now the remaining 3 points, the remaining 4 points are very easy. It's simply writing formulas and doing some kind of an interpretation. Okay, this was the most difficult part. Second, Fourier analysis of square wave full bridge inverter. Okay, yeah. So students, if you remember to do the Fourier analysis, then we have to do the analysis for a waveform which is periodic in nature. So because we have recently done it for converters, I can write down that just like we do the Fourier analysis of the source current Is of omega t in half controlled bridge and full controlled bridge, in full bridge inverter we do the Fourier analysis of VL of t, that is the load voltage. Okay, so in full bridge inverter we do not do the Fourier analysis of source current, but we do the Fourier analysis of the load voltage. So the first thing which we do is we draw the load voltage waveform. We know that the load voltage, okay, fine. VL of t, t 0, t by 2, t 3t by 2, plus v minus v. Okay. Okay, plus v minus v, t by 2, t 3t by 2. So very simple. The Fourier series expansion for the VL of t waveform gives this. Okay, so we can also say like this. We can say that VL of t is equal to VL of 0 plus summation of Cn sine of n omega t plus phi n, where n goes from 1 to infinity. Now students, what is VL of 0? VL of 0 is the average content or the DC content of the waveform. It's very clear that over one cycle of the waveform from 0 to t, the waveform is symmetrical about the x-axis over one cycle. That means what? VL of 0 is equal to 0. So it is 0 plus summation n equal to 1 to infinity Cn sine of n omega t plus phi n. So we know that Cn is equal to under root of the coefficient an square plus coefficient bn square. We also know that the phase phi n is tan inverse of an upon bn. Now putting the standard expressions for an and bn, this is what I get. I get an is equal to 0 for all n equal to 2, 4, 6. No, I'm very sorry, for all values of n. Okay, so when I solve the expression for an, I get an equal to 0 for all values of n. But when I solve the expression for bn, I get bn equal to 4v upon n pi for n equal to 1, 3, 5, 7, and I get it equal to 0 for n equal to 2, 4, 6, and 8. So students, the Fourier series expansion of the load voltage waveform for a square bridge inverter gives me the coefficient an is equal to 0 for all values of n, and the value of bn exists only for odd values, indicating that this load voltage waveform contains only odd harmonics and does not contain even harmonics. So now students, finding the expressions for Cn, it's very natural now that Cn will now be equal to under root of an square plus bn square. Since an equal to 0, it is equal to bn. So students, our first important expression from numerical solving viewpoint is 4n Cn is equal to 4v upon n pi for all n equal to 1, 3, 5, 7. And students, it is nothing but the peak value of nth harmonic of load voltage. That means what? I can say that load voltage VLN peak is equal to 4v upon n pi. Don't get confused, okay? So Cn is nothing but it is the peak value of nth harmonic of VL of t. So I can write, instead of Cn, I can write down VLN peak. That means what? The peak value of nth harmonic is equal to n pi. That means I can write down VL nth harmonic RMS will be equal to 2 root 2 V upon n pi. So students, the peak value can be written as 4 upon pi. So 4 divided by pi is equal to 1.27. So which is equal to 1.27 into V by n. And this is equal to 2 root 2 divided by pi equal to 0.9 V by n. 0.9 V by n. These are important formulas which you should memorize. So Cn equal to 4V upon n pi. Similarly, peak value is 1.27 V upon n, and also the RMS value is equal to this. Okay. So like this. What about phi n? Phi n is equal to tan inverse of an upon bn. An is 0, so it is equal to 0. So students, the final Fourier series representation is VL of t is simply equal to summation n equal to 1 to infinity, and Cn is 4V upon n pi sine of n omega t plus phi n, which is 0. Okay, very simple now. Okay, so Fourier series analysis of square wave full bridge inverter is over. Okay, and one more thing is that what is the value of VL of RMS? So VL, so this is the overall RMS, which is equal to simply V. So let us also write it here. Okay, so please understand there is a difference between VL RMS and VL1 RMS. VL RMS equal to V, it represents the overall RMS value of load voltage, and understand that when I write down VL1 RMS, it represents the RMS value of fundamental component of VL. And what is VL1 RMS equal to? It's very simple. VL1 RMS students is equal to VLN RMS for n equal to 1. What is VLN RMS? VLN RMS is 0.9 V upon n, which is equal to 0.9 V upon n for n equal to 1, which is equal to simply 0.9 times V. So students, the RMS value of the fundamental component of load voltage is 90% of the applied voltage. So if we give V as 100 volts, then the RMS value of fundamental component will be 90 volts. Okay. Yeah. Now we come to performance parameters of inverters. It's like this. So these are generic performance parameters which can be applied to both single phase inverters as well as three phase inverters. Okay, so just like we had DF, PF, HF for converters, there is a different set of performance parameters for inverters, which are as follows. So first is a harmonic factor. HFN. Okay, HFN. Mathematically, it is equal to VLN RMS upon VL1 RMS. Okay, so the harmonic factor for the nth harmonic is equal to VLN RMS upon VL1 RMS. Okay, where n equal to 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. We cannot keep n equal to 1, because if we keep n equal to 1, it will become VL1 RMS upon VL1 RMS is equal to 1, which is not acceptable. So for this formula, n starts from 3. That is the first odd harmonic in the system. Okay. The second important performance parameter is called as total harmonic distortion, THD, which is equal to VL harmonics upon VL1 RMS. Not easy. Okay. Now students, understand there's a very important formula which you need to know and remember is this. that the overall RMS value of the waveform square is equal to a summation of two more squares, that is VL harmonic square plus VL1 RMS square. Okay, there are two components here. One is the VL harmonic square and the second component is the fundamental RMS square. What the point? And what is here is the overall RMS square. So what we have written in the numerator of THD, in the numerator of THD, we have written VL harmonics. So it's very clear. I can write down from here that my VL harmonics will be now equal to under root of VL RMS square minus VL fundamental RMS square. So I can put this relationship here. I can put this relationship here. I can rewrite THD as, therefore, the total harmonic distortion is now equal to VL harmonic. So VL harmonic is equal to VL RMS square minus VL1 RMS square upon denominator is fundamental RMS, VL1 RMS. Okay, this is very important. And the last performance parameter of inverter is called as a DF. Okay, so third is the distortion factor DF. It's very complicated. Under root of summation of VL N RMS square upon N square upon VL1 RMS. Okay, and fourth parameter is called as LOH, that is lowest order harmonic. Okay, LOH, which stands for lowest order harmonic, LOH. Fine. So the definition of LOH is, LOH is the harmonic component which has frequency nearest to fundamental, nearest to the fundamental, and whose amplitude is within 3% of the amplitude of fundamental. Okay, there are two parameters now. The LOH is the harmonic component which has frequency nearest to fundamental and whose amplitude is within 3% of the amplitude of fundamental. Okay, so this is the definition. So having mathematically expressed all the performance parameters of inverters, that is harmonic factor of nth component, then we have total harmonic distortion, then we have distortion factor, and we have LOH. Okay, now we come to the most interesting output of an inverter, that is Cauchy square wave inverters. Okay, so performance is over, Fourier is over. Now we come to Cauchy square wave. Students, Cauchy square wave inverter is a special case of square wave inverter like this. Okay, so how do we get the name square wave inverter? Because the output of that inverter is a square wave. So an inverter gets the name square wave inverter because the nature of load voltage waveform is a square wave. Okay, so the first definition is this thing, that what is a Cauchy square wave inverter? A Cauchy square wave inverter is an inverter whose VL waveform is mathematically a Cauchy square wave. Okay, so Cauchy square wave inverter is an inverter whose load voltage waveform is mathematically a Cauchy square wave. Now the question comes, what is a Cauchy square wave? What is a Cauchy square wave? Okay, now students, we will draw the waveform for an ideal Cauchy square wave inverter. Okay, not ideal, it's a generic. Okay, so generic Cauchy square wave, generic Cauchy square wave. Yeah, please see very carefully, students. If you do not understand this waveform, you will not know what is the analysis which is going to follow. See here now. Let this voltage be represented as VQSW of T, Cauchy square wave. This is T. So 0, T by 2 and T. Okay, T by 2 and T. See students, now what I do, I will divide the interval 0 to T by 2 in two parts from here. So this is the first break here, the second break here. Okay, so students, yeah, so now see how I'm drawing the waveform. So this waveform starts like this, it goes up like this, comes down like this, then it remains like this, and again it goes here and it goes negative, remains negative, it goes like this and goes like this, and it continues like this. Okay, so students, this level is same as the level of a square wave, that is plus V, and here the level is same as minus V. What is the difference, students? See, this particular waveform has a pulse width equal to 2 delta here as well as here. Okay, so if I say that this system, it follows the 50 hertz system, then what it will become? There will be changes. What are the changes? This will become omega t. Instead of t by 2 and t, this will become pi, and this will become 2 pi. So if this is pi and this is 2 pi, what is this? This is pi by 2. If this is pi by 2, what is this? This is 3 pi by 2. So if this span is 2 delta and it is symmetric about pi by 2, this span is again 2 delta symmetric about 3 pi by 2. What are the timing instants here? So timing instant is pi by 2 plus delta, and this instant is pi by 2 minus delta. Similarly, this instant is 3 pi by 2 minus delta. Similarly, this instant is 3 pi by 2 plus delta, right? So I can now conclude this, that a generic Cauchy square wave has a pulse width of 2 delta both above and below x-axis. Okay, so we can just write down like this here. The generic Cauchy square wave has pulse width of 2 delta above and below x-axis. Second thing is that the pulse is symmetrical about both pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2. So it is having a pulse width of 2 delta above and below x-axis. The pulse is symmetrical about pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2. It goes from pi by 2 minus delta to pi by 2 plus delta. Similarly, it goes from 3 pi by 2 minus delta to 3 pi by 2 plus delta. So now it's very simple. You just convert this radians into degrees. Okay, so what it will become? Yeah. So now we come to what is called as ideal Cauchy square wave. This is very, very important because the Fourier analysis of Cauchy square wave is based on this thing. Okay, what is an ideal Cauchy square wave? Ideal Cauchy square wave is one in which 2 delta is equal to 2 pi by 3 radians or 120 degrees. Okay, so ideal Cauchy square wave is one in which 2 delta is equal to 2 pi by 3 radians or 120 degrees. It's very simple, students. You just put 2 delta equal to 120 degrees here. So if 2 delta is equal to 120 degrees, that means this is 90 degrees, this is 270 degrees. 2 delta equal to 120, so I can say that delta equal to 60 degrees. Delta is 60 degrees. What this will become? This will become 90 minus 60, so 30 degrees. 90 plus 60 will be 150 degrees. So 270 minus delta, that is 270 minus 60 will be 210 degrees. 270 plus delta will be 330 degrees. So I can say very well that it has a value equal to plus V from 30 degrees to 150 degrees and equal to minus V from 210 degrees to 330 degrees. If you see carefully, this is again 120 degrees. This is again 120 degrees equal to 2 delta equal to 2 delta. Okay. So if I fire Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and Q4 in this fashion. So if Q1 and Q2 are fired only from 30 degrees to 150 degrees and Q3, Q4 are fired from 210 degrees to 330 degrees, instead of square wave, I will get a Cauchy square wave at the output. So I can make an important point here that instead of firing Q1, Q2 from 0 degrees to 180 degrees and Q3, Q4 from 180 degrees through 360 degrees. If I fire Q1 and Q2 from 30 degrees to 150 degrees, and if I fire Q3, Q4 from 210 degrees to 330 degrees, the VL waveform will be a Cauchy square wave. Okay. Last point for us now. We are not going to take numericals because I do not want to extend the lecture beyond 1 hour on a Saturday. So now last agenda of the day is Fourier analysis of Cauchy square wave. Now, what is the purpose that we are discussing Cauchy square wave? Let me tell you that Cauchy square wave is better than a square wave. In what sense? That it contains lesser number of harmonics compared to a square wave. Now, we know that the output of an inverter should be pure AC, that is pure sine wave. And we know that pure sine wave does not have any harmonics, it has only fundamental. But the problem is that the first inverter which we studied till now, a full bridge inverter, it has an output which has the nature of a square wave, and we know that square wave has all odd harmonics which we do not want. So if we are having a waveform which is not a sine wave but it is having lesser number of harmonics than our default inverter, it is always a better choice. So we want to justify that Cauchy square wave inverter is better than square wave inverter because its output is Cauchy square wave and it contains lesser number of harmonics compared to square wave. We will do that at the end of this discussion. So now redrawing our Cauchy square wave here and then writing the Fourier coefficients. This is my Cauchy square wave, the generic one. Omega t, and here it is V QSW of omega t. So as I told you, it is having two levels, plus V and minus V, 180 degrees, 360 degrees, 90 to 70, and here it is symmetric about 90 degrees. So it is like this. It goes like this. If I want, I will use this. Yeah. So it is like this, like this, like this, like this. Okay. Goes again like this. Goes again like this, like this, and like this. Okay. 0, pi by 2, pi. 3, pi by 2, 2 pi. 2 delta and 2 delta. Okay. So directly writing that Fourier analysis of the above Cauchy square wave waveform it gives me the coefficient an. Now, okay, let me put it this way, students. V Cauchy square wave of omega t, it is equal to V Cauchy square wave 0, indicating the DC component, plus summation of Cn sine of n omega t plus phi n. N goes from 1 to infinity. And again, as I say that the waveform is symmetric about x-axis over one cycle, it is equal to 0. Okay, so I have an which comes out to be 0 for all values of n. Okay, so for both odd and even values, my Cauchy square wave has an equal to 0, and my Bn comes out to be 4V upon n pi. This is complicated, huh? Cos of n pi by 6. Okay, for n equal to 1, 3, 5, 7, and it is equal to 0 for n equal to 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, very simple now. An is 0 for all values of n, and Bn exists only for odd values. Okay, so an is 0 for all values of n, and Bn is existing only for odd values. But students, there is a problem here. I cannot write down 1357. See student, just do a very primary analysis. What is the value of Bn for n equal to 3? Okay, so let me find out what is B3. So B3 is Bn for n equal to 3, which is equal to 4V upon 3 pi into cos of n pi by 6. So 3 into pi by 6. What it comes out to be? Cos of pi by 2. At the point now. So cos of 90 degrees is equal to 0. You put n equal to 9. You put n equal to 9. You get another value of cos, which is again 0. So students, this is where lies the superiority of Cauchy square wave compared to square wave. Why? Because whenever you put any value of n which is a multiple of 3, then the value becomes 0. Okay, we will come to that now. Okay, so similarly, if I put a value, odd value of n which is a multiple of 3, so which is the odd harmonic which is multiple of 3, it comes 9. So let us put 9 now. So I will say B9 equal to Bn for n equal to 9 is equal to 4V upon n pi into cos of n pi by 6. So 9 into pi by 6. If you see the calculator, this comes out to be 0. This comes out to be 0. So we can very safely conclude, I'm writing it in red color, that Bn becomes 0 for all values of n which are multiples of 3. That means Cauchy square wave does not contain triple n harmonics. So I can write down that Cauchy square wave does not contain triple n harmonics. Triple n, that is all values of n which are multiples of 3. Students, so now this is our justification, that for example a square wave has a fundamental frequency of 1 kilohertz. Therefore, the frequency spectrum of square wave will have 1 kilohertz, the fundamental component. It will have 3K, 5K, 7K, 9K, 11K, 13K, all odd harmonics. But students, if I have a Cauchy square wave having the same fundamental frequency, the frequency spectrum of Cauchy square wave will have the fundamental frequency 1 kilohertz. Now you know that Cauchy square wave contains odd harmonics, but it contains all odd harmonics which are not multiples of 3. So it will not have 3K, it will have 5K, it will have 7K, it will not have 9K, it will have 11K, it will have 11K, it will have 13K. Now after 13, a square wave will have 15 kilohertz, but 15 is a multiple of 3, so it will not have 13K, it will have 14 is even, 15 is triplen, 16 is even, it will have 17K. We can clearly see that 3K is present here, it is not present here. 9K is present, not present here. 15K is present here, not present here. So last statement is this: thus a Cauchy square wave is superior to square wave as it has a lower harmonic content. So when I say lower harmonic content, that means it is closer to sine wave. Closer to sine wave. Students, last for this particular, so this formulas are important for numericals. So for a Cauchy square wave, we can have VL RMS Cauchy square wave is equal to under root of 2 delta upon pi into the input V. Okay, so for an ideal or conventional Cauchy square wave, we have 2 delta equal to 2 pi by 3 radians. Therefore, we can say that VL RMS of an ideal Cauchy square wave is equal to under root of 1 by pi, and we know that 2 delta is equal to 2 pi by 3 into V. Students, it comes out to be 0.81 times V. Okay, so the RMS value of ideal Cauchy square wave is 81% of V. Okay, yeah. So numerical, so I covered most of it which I intended today.